So, but people
Hmm.
don't realize you can't own people. You can't own customers. Whether you work at a commission-based salon or barbershop or not, you know, once that person comes in, I'm commission-based, and I got to give the salon a percentage of that service. That client is the one that I'm touching. That
Hmm.
client is the one that's connected to me. So if I decide to leave and go independent, they're going to be like, "Where is Tye at?"
Hi, welcome back to Therapy Sessions. That's THAIRAPY Sessions. I'm your host, Auntie Hair Coach, and I help stylists discover your unique brand and use it to disrupt the beauty industry. Hi, welcome back to Therapy Sessions. I'm your host, Auntie Hair Coach, and I help stylists discover your unique brand and use it to disrupt the beauty industry. Each session, I interview regular people telling real stories about their beauty industry journey. So today, my next guest is a master barber and stylist. He's a salon owner, patent developer, best-selling author. I actually have the book right here. We're going to talk about this. He is also co-creator of ShearShare, which is affectionately known in the industry as Airbnb. Dr. Tye has entered the chat. Welcome and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Auntie Hair Coach.
Okay, so you've accomplished so much, and I want to touch on as much as possible, but I just want to start off with who are you? Where are you from? When did you fall in love with the beauty industry?
Oh my God, that's a lot. I was born in Arkansas, a small town in Arkansas, Lexa Barton. I moved to Dallas when I was a young kid, teenager, before even graduating high school. I first picked up a pair of just regular paperclip scissors before I even picked up some scissors at the age of 9.5, 10 years old. And, my brother had gone off to visit family for the summer and we needed haircuts. We weren't people that just could go into barbershops every week. I'm the seventh of eight kids. But
Wow.
that's where I started, my first journey and foray into really touching hair with, scissors. And then I found the clippers that my brother's friend let him borrow that summer. And why did I get a hold of those clippers and saw that I could use them? Saw that I could use them almost like a Picasso artist. And that was my
Mhm.
foray into really figuring out that I had a really God-given gift to cut hair. And so, that's where it started from. But yeah, small town in Arkansas, seventh of eight kids, moved to Texas with my sister who was older and got a chance to really get to know who I was and my mom. I'm the only child of the seven to move to another state and graduate from a different high school from my other brothers and sisters.
Wow. Wow. So, did you always want to be a barber stylist, or were there other kind of side things and then you came back to doing hair?
You know what? When I was a kid, I wanted to. I liked doing the history and the bios of athletes. So I was doing the biography. I read the biographies of Jim Brown, Magic Johnson, Dr. J, different people that were athletes. And I was an athlete in high school myself. And when I moved to Texas, I decided not to do that anymore. Just focus on my studies. But I always had cutting hair in my back pocket. But essentially, I really just wanted to be a business owner. I wanted to be a businessman and really make a difference in the community. But I lived in the country. I couldn't see past the trees. I thought going past the trees was something behind it. And so I always wanted to strive to be more. And so being a businessman is something that, allowed me to think bigger. But I think stepping into beauty and barbering was something that gave me an opportunity to step into business. So as a barbershop owner, salon owner, I really wanted to understand what that direction looked like and could I control my destiny.
Awesome. Okay, so you actually answered a question that I had in that did you always envision yourself as a boss? So the answer
I
to
did.
that is yes. It sounds like yeah.
I
Okay,
always
so where did you go to beauty school? Did you attend in high school or?
No, I graduated high school, was going to community college for a couple of years, and decided, hey, you know what? I don't want to take these basic classes. I really want to be in business,
Mhm.
and realized that, I had to make a decision. I had a come to Jesus moment where, do I want to continue to taking these basic classes that, I'm almost forgetting about this stuff that I've learned in high school, and say, you know what? Let me go to my first love, which was really barbering and really doing hair. And went to a school, visited the Texas Barber and Beauty Institution, where it was
Okay.
a dual college, and that's
Okay.
where I realized that's what I want to do.
Okay. And then did you do barbering school first or cosmetology or were they together? Because I
They were
know
dual
the
college.
license it was dual. Okay. You did say that. Okay. All right. So now you've graduated barber beauty school. Where's your first gig and why did you choose it?
My first gig was um, a friend of mine. He's passed now. We went to high school together. He was a grade below me, 2 grades below me, and we went to barber school together. And he, before we graduated, he had went and started at a salon and barbershop in North Dallas. And he came back, and we were like the talented ones in school. And he said, "Hey, man, there's this shop that I'm working at. Come check it out. Me and you can just really take over that community because with our talents." And he wasn't wrong. I That was the only shop that I went to work at. Wasn't for sure because I came in this industry independent contracting. I didn't go into it, commission, learning the business. I came in straight independent contractor, booth renter, and the first 2 weeks were tough. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I almost quit. I almost quit a couple of times, and then I told the owner, and she was like, "Well, you can't. If you quit, you can't just keep coming back and forth." So I think the first time I went, the first 2 weeks, I was like, "I don't know if I can really afford this booth rent at the time." And I think booth rent back then, 30 years ago, was like 150 a week,
Okay.
and I was like, "Man, I think my first day my first day working at that salon, I only cut one head, and that was a baby." And
Wow.
it was a $10 cut, and I worked from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And that was my introduction into the industry after having such a big clientele at school, thinking that they were going to follow me to pay these higher
Wow.
prices as professionals now. So it's different. People that don't know, when you're in school, you're paying like anywhere back then it was like $3 to $5 a haircut. And you was doing like a full haircut. Now we're going from that to 15 plus, and people aren't just gonna just go pay that now, especially with
Right.
the talent that we have in school.
Right. Yeah. And I was kind of giggling because you said the haircut was $10 and your clientele wasn't going to follow you to pay those high prices.
Yeah.
But
And
30
that was
years
a
ago,
baby,
yeah.
and this was a
Yeah, yeah,
baby.
yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay. And you actually tell a really relatable story in your book about your first day on the job. And you just shared a little piece of that story. But can you share what prompted you to show up again the next day?
You know, I will say this. I learned a lot from my parents. My mom had a 11th grade education. My dad had a 6th grade education, and they were the smartest people that I knew. They taught me work ethic. They taught me integrity. They taught me character. They taught me how to be sociable with people, but they also taught me not to give up. And I think what I realized is that when I was in school, I saw how the progression came and how busy I was in school. And I said, well, I can do this for myself now. I just had the mindset to have the stick to itness to
Hmm.
continue to say, hey, you know what? I got to go out there now and pass out cards. I was confident. Most kids don't come out of school confident. I was confident coming out of school that I could, give the clients the results of whatever they asked for as a service. And I felt good about that. But it was different back then. No social media. You're having to go into grocery stores. You're having to really talk to people. You're having to be personable with people. Now, people just think they can put something on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and people are just going to come. No, we did the work. And when you do the work and people see your smile, or people look at you and say, you have a nice haircut, or, you're bringing in your friends, and friends bringing in their friends and family members and cousins, and then you're building out. I really started to just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to stick to this. And telling you, in a matter of a year and a half, I had a massive clientele.
Yeah. I always say, are you even a real hairstylist if you haven't considered that maybe you're in the wrong business at least once? I feel like everybody thinks of quitting at least once, but it's the people who have the audacity to keep showing up,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
that make it.
I had the
And
audacity.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, you actually mentioned in your book that 80% of beauty professionals are no longer in the industry at the 5-year mark. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's one of those things where you have to understand data. Being a business owner, I've always been I haven't always followed data, but I had to learn what that was. But I say that because most of the people that was in my school, I think I had 40, my cohort was 40 students. And after about 2 to 4 years, probably only 6 or 7 of us was still in the industry.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
after 5 years, it was probably full-time artistry. In my class alone, it was probably three, maybe three to
yeah,
five. And
yeah.
so that 80% can vary. It can go from, 75 to 87%, but just that round number, 80%. Most people just they get tired. They don't want to do the hard work of building their business. They want to be able to have someone tell them what to do. I didn't. I wanted to be able to build my own book of business. I wanted to be able to be the businessman that I say I wanted to be. And most people don't have the commitment to be able to build their business because even up to now, back then, it was just really you almost like a cowboy. You was just free. And so most people didn't have the responsibilities that it takes to be successful. They thought that you had to be an employee. They thought that you had to work commission. And at the end of the day, the salons and the barbershops were the name. It wasn't the individuals.
Hmm.
And I think that when I came in, I started to make my name as an individual, as a business amongst themselves, where now we call them the business of one. We call them booth renters, independent contractors. But then I started to make a name for
Solopreneurs.
myself. Solopreneurs.
Hmm.
I built my
Hmm.
reputation off of my talent, my wherewithal to understand business, and my entrepreneurship mind.
Love it. Okay, so tell us about your journey from being the guy who only had one client on the first day of work to becoming a salon owner. What does that look like?
Um, I'll difference maker. You gotta want to be a difference maker. When I was at the salon and barbershop that I was at, I was not in the hood, but I was in a very um dense area where there was a lot of apartments, a lot of homes,
Hmm.
schools. So there was a lot of density as far as population wise. What I realized is everybody doesn't run their business the way you really want your business to be ran. And the shop that I was at was a great shop, great people. The owners were a little bit too loose and a little bit too trusting of the staff that they were hiring. And they didn't take as good of a care as of such a nice salon as
Hmm.
I would. And so I came in, I was the one always coming in early, leaving late, trying to take the garbage out, trying to keep the place smelling nice, looking nice, sweeping the shop, and doing all those things, selling products, things that I wasn't getting paid for other than just servicing my clients. And I said, you know what? As I saw my clientele changing, not just from athletes, celebrities, dignitaries, people of importance, corporate people, I saw the area changing, and it just wasn't fitting my clientele. And I said, you know what? I really want to be able to do this, but I want to be able to serve the community better than what we're serving it as a group right now. And so I moved I want to say about 15 miles out north of North Dallas in Plano. A friend of mine told me about a spot that was in that location of where they lived, and I went out there and checked it out. Didn't think I wanted to move, out of Dallas, north of Dallas, but it's all connected. It's just a small suburban area. Now, if you go there, Plano is really already connected to Dallas. They've built so much along the freeway, everything is just so connected now. But I moved out there and I said, you know what? I just really want to make a difference. It was a shop. I went in there and I put stations in there, bought new chairs, really tried to give it a look and feel where, you know, at that particular time in 90, I want to say that was 99, 2000, 2001, where it looked good for that time. My shop has changed and evolved so much today, but during then, it was really about service. It was really about professionalism. It was really about um, community. It wasn't just going into a shop and you playing rap music or you got, certain TV shows on that they have profanity. I wanted to have a shop where it was community for single moms, where it was for dads who wanted to bring their daughters, whether it was for families, whether it for very diverse people. It wasn't just about, barbers having a chair and people can come in just like you see on the shows. It was really about being having a feel for community. So I had over that time while I was working at the salon, I was saving money. When you're a barber stylist, you're saving money, but you're also spending just as much as you're saving. So I had saved up a fair amount of money. I think at that time close to 40,000, and I had it in my safe under my bed. And I decided to start the shop and took every last bit of that money, put it into the business, and within six months, I was only down to $1,600. And I had to, like the first day of getting to business, I had to make a decision on if this is something I'm going to continue to do. But because I had the mentality of stick to itness and going through trials and tribulations, um, I became successful and I stayed with the process, got me a great accountant, started learning business in areas that I didn't know as far as being an entrepreneur and a business owner, and became successful. And here we are. That location is still around after almost 30 years.
That's amazing. Congratulations. I didn't know that getting a doctorate's degree in cosmetology and barbering was a thing,
Mhm.
but you are, in fact, Dr. Tye. You have a doctorate's degree. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, I have my doctorate in barbering and cosmetology, university in Virginia called Miracle University, and it's really one of those levels where you can get them at different levels. You can get your license, but they had a doctorate division where you could get your doctorate, but you had to really be able to get into this doctorate program. So I met a lot of their requirements and wanted to go for it, and the thing about it is that it's not a lot of people with doctorates, and most people that are in it have exceeded, a lot of the opportunities that most people never get a chance to. I've started my own business, wrote a best-selling book, led teams, I've coached, also been an educator. So there's so many things and levels that it takes to get required uh, certificate for your doctorate. But thankfully, I met those requirements.
Yeah. Did you have to write a thesis?
I did. I actually spoke for my graduating class, and I came out number one. I think my class was a class of 10 or 11, but I came out with a 4.0.
Okay. All right. Mr. Smarty Pants. Okay.
Yeah.
And what inspired you? What made you want to or choose to get a doctorate in this industry? What was the benefit of having that?
I don't think I really looked at it as a benefit. I think that we're always striving to do more. I think we're always striving to validate our industry and to want to, when we step into rooms or when we get in front of people, because so many times people looked at us as inessential. People looked at this as a hobby. People don't really understand what we got to do in order to get in order to get a license. And we're really, following a lot of the programs that doctors do when it comes to the skin, top layer, lower level, lower layer, top layer of the skin, and also all the things that we have to understand when it comes to applying, color, when it comes to a lot of the things that we have to use and disinfectants. And so we have to follow a lot of programs that OSHA follows in the medical division. So at the end of the day, it's more than just the artistic value of what we're doing. I think that that's what really inspires us to do something artistic. But I think it's really, I wanted to do it because it was an opportunity. I had already, been successful in a lot of other things, and I wanted to just kind of scale my knowledge and my reach. And so when I step into certain rooms, I don't have to be validated by them. I'm validated stepping in, and it's not just something where I am, head over heels over other people or look down on people. It's just really something to say, hey, you know what? What more can I achieve? What more can I accomplish? And I think getting my doctorate was something that I wanted to do for myself and to continue to just have a betterment of my career and feel like I'm accomplishing more and more and more as I continue to move forward.
I love that. I say all the time that growth is not found in comfort,
Yeah.
right? And like if we're gonna grow as human beings and as artists, but I also say that if I had known how much math and science was involved in cosmetology, I would have never gone to cosmetology school. So it's a good thing I didn't know. I would have missed out on my dream job. Okay, so in your book, there's a moment in your book where you talk about optimism being a muscle. And especially in this climate, I just think that message is so timely. Um, as an entrepreneur, besides optimism, because you obviously need a healthy dose of that, what other muscles are you flexing on a daily basis?
Confidence. You have to be confident. You have to be willing to be some sense of fearless, because I think that we operate in a level of fear. We feel failure. We fear what people think of us. We fear, what's around the corner. We fear, can we accomplish something? I think that fear. You have to be fearless in a lot of ways, and you think about from the time we're little kids to where we're just so curious up until someone tells us, don't do this, don't do that, probably around the age of maybe 4 or 5. Well, that's when we start operating in fear, with people telling us what not to do, what we can accomplish, what we can't accomplish, what we can kind of understand. So I think that as we get older, we need to understand that optimism is a muscle, because we're really dealing with a lot of things that are holding us back. And so many times we're allowing fear to operate in us, and it dictates what we can do, what we want to do, and what we want to accomplish. And I tell people all the time, why are you afraid of fear? You really should be afraid of success. It's because you have to step out into what's next, and how can I keep this successful level of whatever that is? How can I stay on this same playing field? When you fail, you just stop. Okay, you messed up something. You failed at it. Are you going to quit? Or are you going to pivot? What can you do now to do that? So I think so many times that we go into things with the mindset that if we fail, that's to be expected. So I always tell people, be fearless. Optimism is the muscle. You have to be positive. You have to be confident. So I always tell people, be fearless and be confident, because you have to operate in those. Even if you don't feel comfortable, you still have to
Mm-hmm.
operate.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know for myself in my entrepreneurial journey, one of the things that I've learned is that there's a lot of things that I just keep to myself until it's already done.
Hmm.
Because I already, we are our own worst critic, right? So
Yeah,
I already have my own doubts. I don't need outside doubters, right?
yeah,
Like if you're not hyping me up, I don't want to hear
yeah.
it, So, yeah, no, that's totally relatable.
I
So
tell
you
people all
brought
the
up,
time. But I also tell people all the time that, if you think about the percentile, and I share this all the time, and I've shared it before, and I said it earlier, 97% of people will never change. 2% will think about it, and only 1% will. So if you break that down and you say 97% of people will never change, I mean, goodness gracious, you know how many people are going to talk you out of your dreams, out of your
hmm
goals, out of your hopes, out of the
hmm
things that you want to accomplish, and think about the 2% of the people that think about it. So just say
yeah,
you and we're talking, and I'm not really sure where you land. You might be one of those people that may be a 2%er, but hopefully you're not a 97%er, because you're gonna never change. So if I'm a 2%er thinking about it, and I'm looking for someone to give me some reassurance, someone to kind of give
hmm
me some support, and you're saying, well,
hmm
how can you do this? Why would you do this? And you give me all the negatives to why you wouldn't do it, and trying to put your 97 percentile mindset
projecting,
on me.
yes,
And now
yes,
I'm thinking, well, maybe I can accomplish it. So now
hmm
2% would think about it. Out of that 2% that is operating, I'm now about to jump into the 97 percentile people that'll never change, because someone talked me out of what my dreams are. So you have to
hmm
always make sure that if you're going to talk to your dreams, make sure that you already going in the mindset that you don't need anyone to validate what you're doing. You just want
sure.
people to support you. So if they can't validate you, find someone that can support you.
Right, right, right. Absolutely. So I have my core people that like these are the people that I talk about my
Hmm.
dreams with because I know they won't project their insecurities onto me, right?
Absolutely.
In fact,
Absolutely.
they're like, "Yeah, you should do that." Cuz they just be hyped to know me after I do it cuz I'm the type of person if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. Period. It's the right,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
keep at it.
You need people that's going to support you because at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, it may not be your family, and you may have
Mm-hmm.
a group of supporters that may be your people at your church or people in your classroom or people that see you every day or somebody on the street corner that said, "Man, I wish I had someone that could support me when I was your age," and they say, "Keep pushing
Mm-hmm.
forward." It ain't always people that are doing well. It's sometimes people that want to push you forward that get a chance to make it to that next stage in life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so and when you're moving along in that entrepreneurial journey, there are always moments where things didn't quite go the way that we planned,
Yeah.
right? And we have to pivot. So tell us about a time in your career where you had to pivot.
Well, I remember this one so well. I had saved up so much money when I started my business, salon business, years ago, and I had saved up at least anywhere from $37 to $40,000, and I saved it up just not even putting it in the bank. It was under my bed, and I said, you know what, I want to start this business, and I went for it and got this building, did all the things that needed to be done, the electricity, it's so many things in business that you can't see. Most people see a shop and they think, oh, okay, I'm just gonna go in, I'm just gonna put in stations and chairs, but they're not really understanding that you have to make sure the electrical is fit as well. You have to make sure the HVAC is good. You have to make sure you do all your contents before you put any chairs, before you put any
Mm-hmm.
stations, before you put anything in there. Is the plumbing well? You have to get all these contractors to come out and make sure all these things are set. If you have to do any modifications, all that goes into that. And I'll never forget after I got everything set up, phone, got stations, got everything put in, paint, all that. I think I was down to probably $3,000, and now I have to start the business. And so I think at the time I started, it was me and maybe a couple of more people, ladies, and found myself 6 months later, operating just to stay afloat. So I'm losing. I haven't built enough to just project myself in the middle, in the median of it. I was just kind of losing. Not understanding as a business person, you're going to operate that way until you build your clientele, until you build your foundation, until you build a team where you can start collecting monies, where you start seeing a lot of that stuff happen. And I found myself 6 months later with only $1,100 in my name. You know what I'm saying? And now I got to operate
Yeesh.
having a car, having rent. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do? I went to my mom and I said, what the hell have I got myself into? And I had to really sit back and think about all the things I was doing, all the ways I was spending my money. Found me an accountant, someone that made me accountable, no pun intended, but I got me a really good accountant who made me be honest about what I was spending, counting every penny. If it's a penny, you need to find it. If you don't know where it's at, find it. And she taught me how to be, responsible and accountable as a business person. And I was able to get a bonus every year after year one. And that's what really got me on the point to being the businessman that I am today and thinking about, you know, what failure looks like and how to continue to move forward. But I had to make a decision. Am I going to close this business and go back to just getting behind the station or a chair? Or am I going to be an owner and just focus on, how to really build a business and being responsible and accountable to what comes with that? Because there's nothing sexy about it unless that's something you want to be. And I made being a business owner something that I wanted to be when I was a kid. And there are a lot of things and a lot of benefits to being an owner, but there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think you pointed out a really important thing where, we're good at the things that we're good at,
Mm-hmm.
right? But there are people that do other things that they're good at, and
Mm-hmm.
allowing people to come in and help you, such as an accountant, such as an attorney, you know, business consultant if you need it, to come in and help guide us in the direction that we need to be. Sometimes we want to take over, we want to do everything, and it's not realistic. You can't do everything. Somebody gonna have to help.
And the great thing about it was I had an attorney in the family who could actually read docs for me. So it's always good to have certain people in your family. Most people laugh, well, if you got a barber in your family or hairstylist in your family, you ain't got to worry about spending money. If you got an attorney in your family, you ain't got to worry about people reading docs. If you have an accountant in your family, you got somebody that can get your taxes done. If you got a landscaper in your family, you got somebody that could do certain things. If you got some mechanic, you got somebody you got to worry about spending money on fixing your cars. People don't realize all the necessities of certain people that do certain essential jobs that aren't going to ever go anywhere that mean a lot to this economy. And I'm just so glad that, we were gifted to have people in our family that, had certain skill sets that I didn't have to go out for. But having an accountant was major for me, and it really helped me
Major
understand
key.
dollars and cents.
Yes. Good stuff. All right, so now I want to pivot. I want to talk to you about the Professional Beauty Association.
Yes.
So, in my research, I discovered that you are the first African American to sit on the board. Is that correct?
First African American elect to sit on the advisory council.
That's crazy. So, I mean, obviously, it's crazy to me that we're still at a time that we're still having first Black anythings. That's just bananas to me. But talk to us about how that position came to be. Like, what you're elected or you appointed? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then tell us what you do in that role.
So I am elected. You have to be elected to be a part of it. PBA is a Pro Beauty Association, and it's one of those things where they continue to connect licensed professionals. On all spectrums. Really, in the beauty industry, they're really getting really connected to the barber industry, hair, skin, and nails alike. But how I found Pro Beauty Association is that I run ShearShare, so I'm connected to a lot of different people. I want to stay connected. I think I heard about them at Cosmoprof, and it was one of those situations where you meet people, you're connecting. But early on, and I became a member. I really wanted to see how I could be help in any area, any need that they had, and they didn't have a lot of people who were doing what I was doing, as far as both sides of the marketplace. But they did have people who were well versed on the board and on the advisory council. But just adding value is really what I wanted to do, just being a part of PBA. We work with a lot of the lobbyists and legislators who really, when we had things like the pandemic happen and we deemed essential, we were fighting to let them know we are essential. This is not a hobby. So just in a lot of things with when it comes to the licenses and the hours that we take, and politicians saying, do you guys really need to go to school to get hours, or can you just learn from home or learn through YouTube? No, we can't do that. So we're always making sure that they have the faces in front of them. People have the blood, sweat, and tears, and have also gone through the fire and have the education behind them to go and stand in front of these politicians and legislators and say, hey, you know what? This is where you're wrong at. Because you don't know about this, we have to really make sure we educate you as well. Because just because a politician is a politician doesn't mean that they know everything. We can't put our trust in what they know. They only know what they know. They're running for the same reason. They're elected officials as well, and they could be running for a situation that could help them and help their families and friends, but they know nothing about something else. So we have to make sure that we're representing our industry in the best way possible. And I think what I wanted to do was I wanted to be a part of PBA because I wanted to add value, and I wanted to be a representation. And being the first African American male elected advisory council was something that you can say is a sad thing, but I wanted to make sure I was moving first mover in that, and the fact that they accepted me and elected me lets me know that there are changes in progress.
Awesome. Have you been in long enough to discover how they choose their MCs for the NAHA Awards?
I haven't been there long enough to know that. I'm a judge for NAHA all the time. So I'm a judge. I judge NAHA all the time, every
Uh-huh.
year, and I don't know how they pick their MCs. And a lot of times when you get involved in boards and stuff, you have to make sure there's no conflict of interest. So
Of
you have to sign
course.
cards and stuff. So I would love to know that, because those are things that I like to do. And I like
Yes.
I teach, I educate, I speak motivationally, and on different sectors and areas of whatever speaking is needed, education or whatever. And so I always like to be, make sure I'm getting the crowd hyped up, educating the crowd any kind of way, and marketing whatever they need to market. But I
Yeah. All
have no
right.
idea. I'll find out for you though.
Yes, I want to know. I want to get up there and tell a couple little jokey jokes and. All right. So my audience knows that I am all about causing disruption in the industry. I think that the industry right now is in the perfect place post COVID for a large amount of disruption. And for those who feel some kind of way about the word disrupt, I want to be clear that I'm referring to the definition as it relates to industry or technology, meaning to cause radical change by means of innovation. So I'm not trying to destroy the industry, I'm trying to innovate and push forward the industry here. And the reason that I bring that up is because I believe I mentioned before that you, along with your beautiful wife, Courtney, are co-founders of ShearShare. And I just think this is such a brilliant business idea that's so ahead of its time. So I have a few questions about ShearShare. The first is, how did it come about?
That is a great question, and I don't think you have enough time, but I'm going to try to break it down for you as fast as I can.
Awesome.
As a salon and barbershop owner myself, still to this day, my brother and my nephew run my shop in Dallas, Texas, right outside of Dallas in Plano. And it was a problem we were just trying to solve for ourselves. We had expanded and rebranded our salon. So we had a community shop where we had stations, and I wanted to get the building right beside me. So I wanted to build in some suites. We used to have a waiting list of people wanting to come into our shop, but just didn't have enough space. And I said, well, this is a great opportune time to grow, build, give other people opportunities under our umbrella that want to start their businesses, that like our ambiance, that are really speaking of us, because our shop was award winning. So we had a reputation in our community. And once we expanded and rebranded, we found ourselves 3 to 6 months later with empty space still. Nobody was knocking down our door. We were wondering why we had this empty space still. And we didn't realize during that time we're getting into a movement of salon suites. And I think the first ones I ever heard of, they started in Texas, was JC Salons by JC's. And people wanted to be their own business. So they wanted to go into getting their own suites, being their own business, and really building their business on their own. So the opportunity was was really provided that way. I see your nice little cat. Um,
Sorry, she's
oh, no worries,
something
no
else.
worries. But but I think again, it was a problem we was trying to solve for ourselves. So one day, a young lady came to my shop and she was like, "Hey, may I meet the owner?" I said, "I'm the owner," and she's like, "Well, I need to. I'm leaving this side of town and I'm moving to Cedar Hill. I just got married. I found me a salon home and I'm leaving here." She said, "But I need to kind of come back and forth because I have 20, 30 clients that don't want to travel an hour away." And I was like, "Okay, well, cool." I said, "What do you want?" She's like, "Well, I don't want to sign a long-term contract. I don't want to work off commission. My caveat is I really want to work a couple of days every other week so I can make sure I get back to them and get them taken care of. And I like your space." She says, "That's something you're willing to do?" And I was like, "Well, I never thought about it. That's not how, I operate here. You're either going to sign a long-term contract or you're going to work by commission and build from there." And so I said, "Let me think about it. Let me go home, talk to my wife about it." I went home, talked to Courtney about it. She laughed. She said, "That's not real." I said, "Yes, it is." And I said, after we got through laughing about it, and she laughed at Twitter as well. So you see where Twitter is today. Um, we talked about what opportunity looks like. I said, "Well, this space is empty. I would rather make something." My grandmother used to always say, "Make something to nothing is nothing." So always make something. So I said, let me give her opportunity. Let me figure out how I want to charge her and what would that rate be if she want to work by the day. And I said, "Well, I don't want to do my booth rent divided by 5. I want to do my booth rent, but what can I do by the day and still get a higher premium?" So I said, "You know what? When she came in, I told her, I'm gonna let you do this." I said, "But you don't have to bring any towels because I don't want you carrying soil towels, and you don't have to bring any shampoo and conditioner." So I offered her shampoo and conditioner, and I gave her a price point that I felt like was fair, and she jumped on it, and I think it was one of those things where, wow, did I charge enough? But after she came and got that experience, and we had a great experience, she was, mingling and fraternizing with my team, and my team was, they were talking, and just she felt like she was a part of she felt like she was a part of my salon as a team, as a staff member. And after she had her experience for the those 2 days, it was really like, man, she's really leaving, and she said she's gonna come back in a couple of weeks, and that's when everything started. She started posting on social media. Her friends started seeing it and saying, "How are you signing these long-term contracts and you're just posting here and there?" And she was like, no, I have this nice couple, Tye and his wife Courtney. At that time, I hadn't had my doctorate yet, and she was like, you know, they can help you. She was like, okay, well, she had people calling us. We now they got our phone numbers. We're helping them get spaces in Dallas. We having them. Some people wanted to go to Houston and do family members and friends. Some people wanted to go to Austin, San Antonio. Then we had people wanting to go outside the state, go to Oklahoma, Florida, California. So we were doing the calls ahead of times, talking to the owners, removing their apprehensions. You know, trying to share with them price points. What amenities do you have? Do you have Wi-Fi? Do you have wheelchair accessibility? Do you have free parking? All the things that are on our app now. So that's pretty much how it started. And then we had to build from there. But then the hard work came was we were just doing this manually. And we can't continue to do this because I'm writing my best-selling book. I'm going to school to get my doctorate now. My wife is working at Oracle running digital demand across 5 continents. So she's traveling all the time, and we just couldn't do this. We were doing all these things at the airport, at home, you know, out of the country, you know, making these phone calls. So it just got too much where it got to a point where it was too much. And we're just like, okay, there are so many other things that are happening in technology now. We got Uber, we got Lyft, we got TaskRabbit, we got Airbnb. So there has to be something for the beauty industry. So we Google, do some search, and there's nothing out there. And we look at each other and say, you know what? Is this something we want to build? And I will never forget when she was traveling back and forth to Redwood City, we met this young lady who's our advisor to this day. Her name is T.D. Lowe. She can't walk from her car. She can't walk from her car to the grocery store without getting pitched from someone in Silicon Valley about their business because that's where she worked in the startup world. And we called her up and told her what we were building. And it was so funny. We shared with her the whole storyline from start to finish and how long we had been doing this. And she said, "What? Y'all been doing that for 3 years?" I said, "Yeah." And all of a sudden, she was like, the phone dropped. And we would just want to know if it was an idea. We was like, "Is this an idea that you think could work?" She's like, "It's $1 billion idea. Sorry that I dropped the phone. I dropped the phone and damn near screamed because I can't believe y'all been doing this for 3 years and you didn't turn this into an app soon." I was like, "We're not technical founders, so we don't know how to build it." And she says, I have a guy. He has a third party engineering firm. Let me turn you on to him. At this time, me and my wife were eating rice and beans because we're plant based at Chipotle. And so one night when we were at Chipotle, she was like, "You're gonna need to give them something." So I ended up drawing all the screens on the Chipotle napkin and I pushed it over to their engineering team, and they built our MVP, which is a minimal viable product. And that's how we got our first MVP built and started to get the wireframe built out.
Whew, that is incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Incredible. So good. So good. And what I love about it is so I'm looking at the industry and I'm trying to kind of see what I project to be, like how things are changing, right?
Mhm.
And we've talked before. I was mentioning the suites, um, because you were telling me about them being real estate, that whole thing. But one of the core differences between suites and the way that ShearShare operates is that in suites, it's very disconnected from everyone else. It's more of an intimate experience, right?
Mhm.
But traditionally, salons have been like a community place where people gather and talk. It's very community oriented. And so, what I love about ShearShare is for those people that want to be independent, like Suites offer, you don't have to give up the community feel, right, with
Mhm.
ShearShare.
Yep.
So I just love that. I'm obsessed. I understand why she was so excited about it.
Yeah.
Um, because it's like I said, I think you're even ahead of your time. So whatever it's doing today, I expect it to be way, way, way past that.
Yeah, yeah.
In two or
I'll
three
definitely
years.
add, we're very ahead of our time because we know that we're operating in an industry that's very antiquated and they're not
Mm-hmm.
embracing change as much.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always been community driven. I think that we have thought that it was more competition because, you know, we got to build a clientele. We got to make sure that we're the best, so best salon or barbershop in the area. When it really doesn't mean any of that. It's really about building a community within your business, but also keeping the integrity and trust in the ecosystem in your industry. You know, because even though the industry is evergreen, it's big, it's far wide, it's reaching international. If you're in a neighborhood and there are 5 salons or barbershops in that neighborhood, you're all in a community. So there's really no competition, it's community. So we always embrace community over competition.
I feel like the industry is kind of shifting back to that again. It was very individualized for a lot of years, but it feels like maybe we're starting to shift back to the community over competition. Is that intentional for you guys to have that as a part of your brand, or is that something that happened accidentally? Talk about that a little bit.
Well, coming from the industry, I think that there's always been sense of competition. I think that salons, barbershops have always kind of had, oh well, it's the McCoys versus the Hatfield type of mentality, when it shouldn't be. I think that we all want business, but I think what we didn't focus on was business reputation. You know what I'm saying? Are you doing your part as a business to have a great reputation in the community? Because your customers are going to define that. If you're not defining that yourself, your customers will define that for you, which will cause dissension initially in the community for competition. So I always wanted to look at it as community over competition. When I used to walk into other barbershops back in the days, because I had a large clientele, I didn't want them to feel like I was coming in there to take their clientele. I was actually going in there to talk to some of my homeboys and some of my homegirls who were actually working in different shops. So I've always looked at it as community over competition, but yet at the same time, thinking about ShearShare, I want people to know that, it doesn't have to be like a barbershop owns Tye or a barbershop owns you. It's really, hey, you know what? If I have a home salon at ABC Salon, I still, want to be able to go across town and utilize your chair, and it's not going to be for free. You're going to get paid for it. So I essentially want to understand it's community over competition. It has nothing to do with that, because you only need a certain amount of clientele to be successful over a certain amount of time. And as long as you're consistent, as long as you're really building your services right, your clientele is going to build your clientele. After a while, you don't even have to go out and do anything else. So I think that I look at it as community, not from the perspective of the industry, but the perspective of clientele, because I think it's all cyclical and I think it's all relatable. And I think that if we do that right, we all going to be successful.
Agreed. Agreed. And I know for myself as a stylist, the I've been self-employed for going on 14 years now, and it's really difficult for me to imagine ever working for someone ever again. I just can't see it. I would rather die. And I'm not even kidding. And so the salon that I'm working out of currently is that idea. And she is actually listed on ShearShare, but that's not how I found her. At the time that I found her, I didn't realize ShearShare existed. But I just think it's such a brilliant um, concept. I just think that when I think about the industry 10 or 15 or 20 years from now, what does that look like, especially with suites becoming so big now?
So we're living in a technology age. This is not horse and carriage anymore. This is not the 70s. This is really, people can actually make a business doing social media. People can actually make a business having a job, but people aren't understanding the business uh, when it comes to running it. So we're meeting people where they are. We're giving people opportunity where it's being missed, and we're giving it to you on a pay as you go basis, not as a contract as you go basis, a pay as you go basis. And I think that that's what ShearShare is. And I think we're really ahead of the curve, because this industry is antiquated. So just like you had never heard of us, a lot of people have it. But people
Hmm.
don't realize you can't own people. You can't own customers. Whether you work at a commission-based salon or barbershop or not, you know, once that person comes in, I'm commission-based, and I got to give the salon a percentage of that service. That client is the one that I'm touching. That
Hmm.
client is the one that's connected to me. So if I decide to leave and go independent, they're going to be like, where is Ty at? You know,
Hmm.
I may have been paying a service through him and he paid you something, but I have my connection to him. I could care
Hmm.
less about what's on the sign of the shop. I'm
Yeah.
connected to him. So I think what we're doing is, because we're ahead of the curve, because we're in the gig economy, because we're technology based right now, because people are taking advantage and wanting to control their own destinies. 10 to 15 years from now, it's going to be even more greater than what it is now. I think people really want to be able to travel, be able to cross from one side of the city to the next, be able to cross over state lines, be able to go from one end of the region to the next, and have that transitory opportunity to be able to build clientele where they want to, and not just be pinned down to one location. I think that that's where the industry is going. I believe that's where it's going. And regardless of what anyone says, the market will speak for itself, and it's speaking that way now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was talking to my grandson. He will be 10 in June, and he lives in Colorado.
You need
And
to
just,
stop. Grandson.
yes, almost
Grandson.
10. Crazy. I'm somebody granny here in these streets. Um, but so I was talking to him about like coming to Colorado to see one of his baseball games, this and that. And I said, well, Granny's got to work, but if you let me know when the games are, I'll, work my schedule. I'll get down there. And he goes, well, why can't you just come here and work? And I was like, you're right. Why can't I come here and work? And because of ShearShare, I can go there and work. Like, so yeah, no, you're really ahead of your time. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I love it. Um, okay. I have a segment that I call Story Time with Auntie Hair Coach.
Okay.
I give you a prompt and then you tell me a story, a real story, not a made up one. You can choose from one of three. So you're going to either tell us about a time that you messed up someone's hair, tell us about the best piece of beauty industry advice you've ever gotten, or tell us the worst piece of beauty industry advice you've ever gotten.
This is I have so many, but I'll say this. There was a client one time, and he was from the corporate world, and he opened up he bought a salon from an owner in Highland Park. Now, anybody that doesn't know Dallas proper, Highland Park is one of the highly rated places in the nation.
It's affluence.
Very affluent.
Okay.
George Bush lives in this area.
Oh, good Lord. Okay.
So some of these houses you can't even see.
Mm-hmm.
His salon was commission based, and he was making a lot of money, a lot of money. So he came to my salon one day and he told me that, how are you surviving? And you're just doing booth rent. He said, I'm getting ready to close my shop down, and I'm making about 18,000 a week. You can't be making anywhere near that. How are you surviving? So I had to check him. So the best piece of advice I had to give him was, I'm from the industry. I'm connected to my people. They understand what I'm building, and they believe in what I'm doing. The people that are working for you, they're just employees to you. You see them as a dollar, and that's why your business is about to close.
He was not a hairstylist?
Not even close. Not even the
Yeah.
day before.
I always say I will never work for somebody, would never work for someone that if you have not lived this life, you don't know this life.
No,
So yeah, and that's why his business was closing. How you making $18,000 a week and your business is closing, sir?
crazy.
Well, what do you do? That's
Crazy.
crazy. Crazy. All right. Who or what inspires you?
Uh, I'm inspired by one of my big inspirations, and it's been a guy that I've been following since I was like 5 years old. Is Irving Magic Johnson. I've loved everything about his career, the businessman that he has become, and I actually sneaked to go see him in Nashville to hear him speak, and got a chance to get my jerseys and my magazines signed up, and I even gravitated to him and said, "Hey, would you be my business mentor?" Uh, got a chance to. He said yes, and I had to reach out to somebody, but didn't get a chance to get his mentorship because they it was just the miscommunication somewhere.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, definitely love Magic. His personality, he's just so positive, despite
Yep.
because he's had some trials and tribulations, boy, but He's always been positive and just a class act. You never hear him say nothing bad about nobody. Yeah. All right. So baby Tye, 30 something years ago, just graduating from dual barber cosmetology school and is getting ready to go out into the industry. Given all of the experience you have now, what advice would you give to him?
Go for it. Do not second guess yourself. I've always been a person to go for my goals. And anytime I've second guessed myself is when I made the wrong decision. Move with distinction, have a strategy, have goals, but continue moving forward. Don't look to the left, don't look to the right, don't look behind you, and don't let people stop you. Continue to move forward, and I guarantee you it's all going to work out.
Amen. All right. How can our audience reach out if they want to follow your movement? How can they find you?
Well, they can reach us on ShearShare everything, ShearShare Instagram, ShearShare Facebook, ShearShare Twitter. They can also reach out to me at Dr. Tye Caldwell on Instagram, Dr. Tye Caldwell LinkedIn. Anybody want? If people do LinkedIn, I'm a business guy, so I'm on LinkedIn. Dr. Tye on Twitter, and I'm not on Facebook, so that's how they can reach me.
Okie dokie. Thank you so much, Dr. Tye. I appreciate you taking time out of your very busy schedule and sharing some industry information with me and my audience. And I will definitely be in touch. Thanks. I appreciate you.
All right, pleasure's mine.
Thanks so much for listening. If you'd like to hear an episode from your favorite beauty industry professional, tell me about them in the comments section and I'll be sure to reach out. Also, be sure to click the follow button so you never miss an episode and find me on IG at Auntie Hair Coach so we can stay connected. See you next time.